Hello, welcome to the Wildline Podcast. I'm your host, Dan. I have Chris with me. Say hello.
Hey, thanks for having me back again, Dan. Sorry I've been gone for a minute.
That's all right. We missed you last weekend. It was the first official Time Machine special episode. One of, I don't know, maybe 6, 10, 100, who knows? However long the pandemic lasts. So what we're doing now essentially is because the box office is closed and movie theaters are closed down for at least through May, I would guess. What we're doing is we are still talking about the box office, but we're talking about the box office past. So last weekend we went back to 2015, 2010, 25, 05, and 2000. Today we're going to go back to 2014, 2009, 2004, and 1999, essentially the last week in March. We'll just walk through the top 5, talk about the films, see how they did, kind of do an historical viewpoint of what happened with these movies and their box office performance. Before we do that, though, Chris, you got some articles you want to talk about the current state of affairs that's going on with the movie theaters. It's pretty crazy out there.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of had to dig for them because it seems like most box office writers are kind of doing what we're doing. We're looking inward, some navel gazing about the history of the box office because what else are you going to do right now? But there are a couple things. Exactly. Forbes reports some official new release dates, though, of course, I suppose these could change again, right? Who knows? So Peter Rabbit 2 we knew was getting pushed back, but now it's got a new official release date of August 7th. So August is going to be completely nuts if this stands the way it is, because that seems like where they're putting most of the big movies that were going to come out in the spring. Wonder Woman 1984 is now August 14th. The Fast Saga, which is the new Fast and Furious with the guy from Tokyo Drift returning or whatever.
Oh yeah.
That was moved from May to next April 2nd. So 2021 is also just going to be stacked in general.
That to me is insane that they're moving the whole year. I mean, I get it because like it is basically an international film and less of a domestic film now. But like a year, I mean, that's a long time for something to sit on the shelf. So
I know. And I like, we get it when movies like My Spy, stay on the shelf forever. Yeah. But for a movie of like such a huge pedigree and like I mean, there's so many more things to worry about than the box office, obviously, but that's what we're here to do. Yeah. But I do think that, they are kind of taking a gamble and hopefully it pays off for them. But it does seem like it has the potential for people to kind of move on from being psyched about it from the Super Bowl ad,
Yeah.
I don't know. A couple more things. It seems like there was, I don't know if you talked about this last week when I was gone, Dan. I did listen, but I don't remember if you said this, that Onward, the Pixar movie that just came out, is already available on VOD and it's officially debuting on Disney Plus in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah. The release window sort of sacrosanct 90 days is over. I mean, right now. It might go back. Universal was the first one to sort of budge on that, and everybody else sort of followed. Disney was not the first mover, but wow. I mean, that is nuts, and it sort of changes the whole ballgame. I think it's going to go back to normal once the virus sort of spreads and ends here, at least the pandemic phase of it. But it's a pretty massive change in the industry if it sticks.
Yeah, definitely. As of now, still no official new release date for either Black Widow or what was the other big one people were worried about? Mulan. And Quiet Place Part 2 as well. We'll keep on.
No new release date for Quiet Place 2?
Nope, not yet.
Oh, it's also a movie about the end of the world. So
right, exactly. That I feel like if any movie would make sense to push back an entire year, it'd be that one.
Yeah, we don't really want to go through. It hasn't even gotten to the US really yet, that stage, but it might. So
yeah, exactly.
We don't want to see it. Oh man.
So that's it for officials. They, as of right now, Christopher Nolan's Tenet is still holding its July 17th release date. I think that will, there's a lot of great Twitter memes online about
so good.
What would happen if Nolan got pushed into a corner and had to release it digitally. I don't know. Also, movies that have been taken off their release dates but have not been scheduled are James Wan's new flick, Malignant.
Oh, yeah.
And that was originally slated for August 14th. So I think they probably saw a lot of these movies getting pushed into August. And I don't have it up which studio is doing Malignant, but I'm guessing it's whoever did the Conjuring series.
Right, Warner Brothers, man.
Warner Brothers, yeah. They're like, we'll take this out. It's not going to do anything there. Yeah. And then a movie that I'd never heard of, which is called Scoob! Exclamation point, which I think is the new Scooby-Doo movie.
Oh, yeah. I vaguely heard about this a while back. I didn't know what it was, though.
Yeah, it's animated, it looks like. But that was originally slated for May 15th, and that has no new release date as well.
Adios.
So, yikes. And that was all, those last few were according to Box Office Pro. What is going to happen for a lot of these movies that haven't been put on the news yet? One more brief one, The Lovebirds. Is no longer a theatrical release. That's Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani, rom-com.
Oh, yeah. I saw it for like 100 times. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's officially going to go straight to streaming. No details yet on when or what platform.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Speaking of My Spy, that has been shelved again.
They should never release it. It should be one of those films that like no VOD, nothing, no DVD.
Yeah,
like just pop it on like FX basic cable like a week from now and see what happens.
Right,
you'd probably make more money from advertising. I don't know.
You probably would, to be honest.
Yeah.
Speaking of shelved movies, another movie that has been shelved multiple times that officially has no release date right now is New Mutants, the new X-Men movie.
Oh yeah, it looks terrible.
It absolutely wretched.
Yeah.
But it's got a good, I forget who the writer is, but the writer is somebody interesting at least. But yeah, there's no way it's good. That's all I've got for you for the new stuff, but it does seem like something that'll, at the very least, keep us with plenty to talk about as we head into these time machine segments, because it's just going to keep changing over and over again.
It's going to be nuts later this year if everything sort of clears up in a few months. Like the August, I mean, it's going to be just so stacked. It's going to be total, like September is going to be like the biggest month ever now. It's sort of the worst month. Okay, let's step into the time machine and head back to 2014, the last weekend of March. Just pulling it up now. So what we're going to do is walk through the top 5 of what happened. We'll talk a little bit about what the movies were, if we saw them and know anything about them. Some of these I totally forgot. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. You might know this because it's children's film.
Oh yeah, saw that in the theater for sure.
Ugh, gross. So let's start. So number 1 this weekend, back in 2014, was Noah. So Noah was the, I guess, historical biopic. Am I getting this right? I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either, but yeah,
has anybody seen this movie?
No,
I mean, like, if we haven't seen it, like, that's pretty weird.
I know. And I feel like probably you and I have seen every other Darren Aronofsky movie.
Everyone. I saw Mother opening weekend Sunday morning at 10 a.m. with like 5 other people.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah. It was bizarre. It was almost as bizarre as seeing Midsummer on a Sunday morning.
Right.
That was also weird. But no, let's talk a little bit about how it did. It was number 1 this weekend. Overall, Noah ended up making $352 million, which blows my mind. Because this essentially was an Easter play. A lot of these movies this weekend, the last weekend in March, are essentially Easter movies. And so this one, in its opening weekend here, did $43 million unadjusted, which also is mind-blowing. It ended up domestically unadjusted to do 101, which is not a great multiplier, only a 2.3x multiplier. For something like this, holiday film, easily 3x, maybe higher. But it cost a ton of cash, $130 million production budget on this, which has to be by far the biggest budget he's ever been given. And
if I recall, just based on what I remember from the movie news at that time, I feel like he probably went over budget multiple times.
Oh, easily. Yeah. This is like his... I'm sure he felt like this was going to be his Lawrence of Arabia epic that he would win all these Oscars for. I mean, you could see it in his head, right? Like,
right. It's on the heels of Black Swan, which he made, which made 331 worldwide. which is also kind of crazy.
That's also nuts. I saw that opening weekend. Oh man, that was crazy.
Yeah.
Packed house in New York.
Yeah, same here in Minneapolis.
It was just like, yeah, there's something about that film that really captured people. This one, I had no desire to see it. The trailers looked like that weird, like beigey blue tones. You're like, oh, this looks so boring. Russell Crowe's probably, you know, very wasted throughout the filming of this, I would imagine. Now, I'm not making light of that. I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
But you know, it's kind of a mess, and I think it ruined his career. Darren's career. I mean, I guess, right? Both, everybody involved, kind of.
Right. I mean, Mother's the only movie he's made since then, and that's 42 worldwide, 17 domestic.
That's the only movie he's made since then.
Yeah,
that's insane. He is very talented, though. I mean, his earlier stuff is amazing. Pi and I was going to say The Fountain, but I can't.
I'm a Fountain stan, but I think we both.
That's a whole nother podcast, which I really would like to do because we need to revisit it. We'll get Hendrix on here too.
Yeah. The Wrestler, though, I feel like masterpiece. I still think that's his best movie.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's so good. But no, here, you know, it did perform. You know, I'd say domestically adjusted, ended up at 112. The problem there is it opened super high and then had this super low take overall and low multiplier because people hated it. I don't have the cinema score in front of me. If I had to guess, probably a C, maybe a B minus, something like that. So it was not well received, kind of ruined a lot of careers, way over budget. And so kind of a mess of a film. Financially, maybe not a disaster, but definitely a loss. For Paramount Pictures.
Yeah. You were right. A C on cinema score.
Yes. Oh God, it feels so good to be right. Especially about cinema score. But that's, I mean, just for context, that's a complete and utter disaster for a mainstream film. Anything below a straight B is like nightmare.
Well, can you imagine fuel. He was going, I don't know if he was going for this, but the exact opposite of what his career trajectory was like until then happened, right? Instead of getting his fanboys like us that had been following him diligently throughout his entire career.
Yeah.
Like he made a play for the masses. And so like none of us went and saw it, but everybody's like mom and grandma went on Easter weekend. And it just like, can you imagine being like a 60-year-old American and like seeing a Darren Aronofsky movie on Easter weekend?
But how different is it than Passion of the Christ, which is coming up soon? So that's a little teaser.
Oh boy.
So let's keep this train moving. So that was number one. Number two this weekend. This is March 28th, I guess, 2014. Divergent from Lionsgate did 25 million in its second weekend. Did you ever see the Divergent films? I think I talked about one last week.
I read the first book because I felt like I had to because I'm a high school teacher. And it's just trash. Like the book is trash, really? So the movie's got to be even trashier.
Yeah, it's just YA stuff, right? That's all it is.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it was just just profiting off of the success of Hunger Games, and I'm not a huge Hunger Games fan either, but at least that movie series and the books were competent. Like this is just like gobbledygook to me. It just is so stupid.
So this one performed decently well. Opening weekend it did 54, closed out adjusted to 168, which is not bad. Legs were 2.76. Worldwide box office was 276 total, 276 million. So it did really well in video sales as well. So that's what we had the whole series come out. But it was like this one did well financially, and then like the next two were kind of like the third one was a total disaster. So Lionsgate sort of held on a little bit too long for this one, but a decent performance overall. Kind of a different period. Apocalypse fiction was huge back then. This 6 years ago, and the YA stuff, kind of a convergence of those two. I don't think you'd see any of that type of stuff happening right now, unfortunately.
No.
Like a Netflix series, maybe, but that's about it.
Right. Quick note about the director of Divergent. Well, no, he was just in the first one, Neil Burger. He also made The Upside last year, which was a surprise breakout hit.
What was that one again? I don't even remember.
The Bryan Cranston and Kevin Hart.
Oh, God, I've talked about it 1,000 times. STX.
Yeah. But still completely forgettable. Yeah. So he makes very forgettable but pretty profitable movies. So it'll be interesting to see if Hollywood chews him up in the next few years, or if he manages to keep making these surprising hits.
So that was number two, Divergent. Number three this weekend, March 28th, 2014, was Muppets Most Wanted. Did 11.2 million. in its second weekend. Overall, it ended up adjusted at 57, which is not great. Legs were 3x, which is also not good for a children's film or family film, I guess you'd call this. Worldwide did 79 unadjusted. Production budget was 55 million. Whoa, this thing flopped. This
is why we haven't had another Muppets movie since then.
Yeah, it must be. I don't remember. I sort of remember this coming out, but like, wow. $55 million is just way too high for this.
It's so bizarre because the first one was such like a joyous romp, and it, you know, gained an Oscar for whatever his name is from Flight of the Conchords. But this one was, I assume you did not see it.
No, I haven't seen any Muppets movies.
Oh, okay. The first one actually pretty good, pretty enjoyable. Jason Segel in the lead. It plays, I think, very well to both parents and kids. Muppets Most Wanted, not a terrible movie, but this is the second new Muppets movie, a historically, like, you know, roller coaster of a franchise. And whoever decided to go with this idea is really sick in the head, I think. It's set in a Siberian gulag.
What? Why?
I don't know. It's so bizarre. It's like Jermaine Clement and Ricky Gervais in a Siberian gulag with the Muppets.
Oh God, does that feel like? And you think that would be like to cheapen the budget a bit to have a single location like that? But
yeah, but no, it's
55 million. Jesus.
It's insane. It's such a weird movie, and I cannot believe that that's what they decided to go with for the new Muppets sequel. But that's why we don't have a new one.
And not a big international
James Bobin
at all either.
No, and James Bobin is having the director of that movie has been having a rough decade, to say the least. After Muppets Most Wanted, he made Alice in Through the Looking Glass, which you talked about briefly.
Brutal.
77 domestic, whereas the first one I think was like 300 or something like that.
Yeah, 300
it's
something.
Crazy. 300 to 77. And then here's the kicker. Last year he made Dora in the Lost City of Gold.
Oh no, come on. I thought that one would do okay, but it didn't really do okay.
No. Sorry, James.
It's all right. He's probably still a millionaire. So number 4 was a movie from 2014 now, Mr. Peabody and Sherman. $9 million in its fourth weekend. You're gonna have to talk about this one because I don't know anything about this movie. It's a children's movie, so you saw this in the theater?
Oh yeah, we saw it in the theater. I actually have some nostalgic affinity for the Peabody and Sherman cartoon. Did you not watch it growing up?
I have no idea what this is. Like, I couldn't even describe to you. I see the photos got like a dog in it and a kid with glasses. Both have glasses. The dog is a bow tie, so he's fancy. Yeah,
exactly. It was the B story to Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, jeez. Talk about running out of ideas.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
But I would watch Rocky and Bullwinkle waiting for the Peabody and Sherman segment to come on. And I don't know why.
It does sound familiar now, yeah.
But they're like a time traveling, like you learned about history. So it was like the dog is a brilliant scientist and like brings Sherman to different time periods. They like time travel to Egypt to learn about the pharaohs and so on and so forth. And so that's basically what the movie is too. It's completely forgettable, but pretty harmless. And I do agree. I mean, I was happy they made it into a movie I could take my children to, but not very many other people were.
Yeah, this one kind of, so opening weekend was 32, closed out adjusted at 124, unadjusted worldwide was 269. The production budget on this, outrageous, $145 million. Which makes no sense. I don't know how that happened.
It's Rob Minkoff, the director of the original Lion King.
Oh, is that why? So this is from Fox, 20th Century Fox, no longer existence, owned by Disney, of course, now. So it only did less than 2x its production budget in worldwide box office, which is very bad. You want to be at least 3x to be breaking even and profitable. Yeah. So kind of a disaster, but we didn't get another one, I don't think. I don't know what he was up to now, but
nothing. He hasn't made a movie since.
Really? Oh God, it makes me so sad when I hear that.
I know.
It makes me really upset. In any event, so that was number 4 this weekend back in 2014. Number 5, a real classic, God's Not Dead from Pure Flix. 8.7 million, $21 million so far in the second weekend. Let's take a look at its total here. This one I was looking at earlier, it blew my mind. So the production budget was like $1 million. So obviously, explanation here. This is a movie about a guy who goes to like, I think, philosophy class in college. It's basically far right propaganda, Christian fundamentalist propaganda. The whole Pure Flix stuff it's all, rah rah Jesus stuff. And so the story essentially goes to philosophy class. His professor, because philosophy professors do this, forces his class to exclaim that God is dead, and if you don't write that in your paper or something, you're going to fail. So there's a whole long thing where the guy challenges the professor to a debate about whether God is dead or not, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't even, whatever. I'm not even going to get into the philosophical fallacies of this movie. But what a performer, though. 55x its production budget worldwide.
That's insane.
No international audience, which I find interesting. Because if you're making Christian fundamentalist propaganda, I feel like there's a huge market for it in other places besides the US. So, this thing essentially opened at 9, closed out at $67 million adjusted domestically. Basically no international box office for it. So it could have made probably $200 million if it did a push internationally. But this is kind of, the bread and butter of Pure Flix, what they kind of do. There was a couple of sequels for this, I think. I'm sure there was a series.
There was God's Not Dead 2, and then in 16, and then in 18 there was a movie called God Bless the Broken Road, which I think is just another style of movie. I don't think it's canon in the God's Not Dead cinematic universe.
It's not the yeah, interesting. I don't know. I like the performance of these movies just because it's just like, it's like a cinema score of an A+ no matter what. Verified audience score of a 99%. It's like people, it's like a commercial for Jesus, and people really want to be sold on Jesus, so they go and see this stuff and they love it. But a fascinating, we're probably going to see a lot more of this, I would say, after the pandemic, maybe. I think so, right? People can turn to God, all that kind of stuff.
Definitely.
Pure Flix is going to really take off and maybe challenge Walt Disney. Who knows? Number 6 this weekend was one of my favorite films. And I'm just doing 6 for this one because I wanted to. The Grand Budapest Hotel from Wes Anderson did $8.5 million this weekend, 4 weekends after its release. I'm sure it was pushed limited, though. So it ended up at $163 million worldwide, which is kind of amazing for a Wes Anderson film. $65 million. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. $65 million adjusted here domestically. 5.3x its production budget, which is only $31 million, which seems like actually really a big bet on Wes Anderson if you're giving him $31 million. Yeah. But just wonderful film. I think his probably, in my sort of opinion, maybe his top 3 film. Maybe it's at 2 or 3 for me. Sometimes it's at 1. I just think it's so beautiful and so well done, and just really captures his emotional truth, if you will, his emotional wisdom, and a wonderful film. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. What have you done since then? I don't remember.
Isle of Dogs, which I still have not seen.
I don't even want to see it. I just feel like I don't know.
Yeah. But The French Dispatch comes out this summer, as of now, July 24th. We'll see how that goes. I am very excited about it. It looks as it
looks wonderful. It looks like it was a movie written specifically for me. Like it was just like he sat down and went into my brain like, what does Dan like about all these different things? Let's write a movie about it.
Expat journalists in the 40s, and I think I have a good feeling about it. Maybe I'm hyping it up too much, but it does look like it's following in the tradition of that kind of like grandiosity of Grand Budapest Hotel, where it's like he's not just trying to do like a small picture about, a small group of characters. He's trying to go to another level, which I think was a risky move for him, to be honest. But if it's anywhere near the quality of Grand Budapest Hotel, I'm going to be excited.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. So let's hop in the time machine and head back to 2009 now. This will be the weekend of March 27th. Number 1 that weekend was Monsters vs. Aliens. $59 million that weekend. Its opening weekend. Let's see what it did adjusted. Worldwide it did 381. Domestically adjusted did 240, which is fantastic. Huge production budget though. $175 million production budget. Only did 2.2x. So kind of a mixed bag here. They really had an inflated budget, so it was hard to overcome that. it probably made some money. Maybe, but only 2x, less than 2.5x production budget. That's pretty tough to make a lot of cash. Home video sales, the numbers is estimating over 100 million, so maybe that made up a lot of that gap.
That's got to be
the.
How do you get 175 million into an animated movie where like your top billed actor is Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Like, what studio did this one? Oh, Paramount. Paramount has no idea. Paramount and DreamWorks, I guess. Paramount's just like, I don't know, they're okay. But you think about those production budgets and you look at something like Invisible Man, which came out this year and it was shot for $7 million.
Right.
It didn't look like $100 million movie, but it looked like a $50 million movie. Yeah. So I think that like that seems to me a lot tougher than doing a CGI. Now, I'm not saying CGI is easy, but there's a lot, you don't have to like think about lighting and the sunset and all that sort of like 1,000 different physical things you have to think about. You don't have to do that with CGI. So I just kind of, I don't know, maybe it seems like maybe a super long production cycle. Usually these films take like 4 or 5 years to make from conception to completion. So maybe it was just a long time frame. I'm sure they rewrote the script 1,000 times. Maybe Patton Oswalt got paid $1 million to punch it up. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, not a great performance for this. Did you see this one in theaters?
No, I did not have kids at this point. So but I did of course see it, streaming when my kids were 3 or 4 a few years ago.
Is it good?
And it's trash. No, it's trash.
Oh, it's awful.
It's I don't know. I mean, we got this other monster movie that's probably now put on hold that we talked about briefly a few weeks ago, about the wrestling monsters, I forget what it's called.
Yeah, the wrestling thing.
But like it's like about on par with the quality of that. Like it's just like it's very obvious, like not trying to be an A quality animated film. Right?
Oh, I hate that. They know it's tier B and they don't even give a shit.
Exactly. And then they try to just like make up for it with spectacle, and it's just I don't know. So
waste of time.
Yeah. The director though has, done a pretty good run for himself since then. Rob Letterman, he actually made Shark Tale before Monsters vs. Alien, which is
totally,
just off, just profiting off the success of Finding Nemo. But then after Monsters vs. Alien, he made both of the Goosebumps movies, which were both modest but respectable hits.
Middling.
Yeah, and then Captain Underpants, and then Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Oh, there you go. Underperformer as well. Okay, so Monsters vs. Aliens is number 1. Number 2 this weekend, back in March 27th of 2009. The Haunting in Connecticut from Lionsgate did $23 million in its opening weekend, which is pretty good for an opening weekend for a horror film like this. Ended up making $67 million adjusted. Not much worldwide, 78 worldwide unadjusted. I've never seen this one.
No.
Have you? No?
No, I have no idea what it is.
I kind of want to see it now. It's basically a haunted house film, obviously. But it interests me because it was like, 4 years before The Conjuring. And I really do think like The Conjuring just really reinvigorated the horror genre at large. By really basic like meat and potatoes horror film, haunted house film, but done so well that really got people excited about it. This one, pretty in that really down slope of the genre where not a lot was going on besides Paranormal Activity. And so like it's an okay performance, but it seems like it's totally forgettable. I kind of do want to see it just as historical record to see what was going on back then with a movie like this. I remember this. I remember seeing the poster when I was living in San Francisco. I was like, nah, pass. It looks stupid. I think most people did that. Number 3 is a very fascinating film, Knowing, starring, is this Nick Cage, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Summit Entertainment. Summit, you might remember them. They were famous for launching the Twilight series. That was an independent film technically when it first started. So Summit put that out. They put this one out in March 27th, 2009. It was its second week. It did $14 million. This movie's a complete train wreck. It's kind of a fascinating meme fodder now. Production budget was $50 million, closed out at $97 million adjusted. Domestic, total worldwide unadjusted was 186. So it performed okay, pretty good actually. Probably made some money, especially when you get into home video and stuff like that. I don't remember this film at all. Is this the one with the plane crash scene?
I maybe I don't know. I've never seen it actually.
Oh, so it's Nick Cage, Rose Byrne. Who's the director here? This guy,
Alex Proyas, the guy from that did Dark City and The Crow.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so this is kind of like Nick Cage straddling that line between direct to VOD video stuff,
right,
and like major studio releases. Definitely, he's sort of fallen off and gone towards the indie VOD art route. But every once in a while, he has a grand slam like Mandy. You've seen Mandy, right?
Oh yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it. It's just like a classic. But this one, not an amazing performance, but a decent performance for the film. 3.7x its production budget worldwide is pretty good. So, but it kind of signaled, this is on Summit, it's not on Warner Brothers or anything like that. So you could tell that Nick Cage is kind of on the downswing of his career, at least being an A-lister. It's no Snake Eyes, I'll tell you that. So number 4 is a very fascinating film. I Love You Man from Paramount did 12.6 million back in 2009 on this weekend. This one, let's see what it did overall. 92 worldwide. Domestic adjusted total for I Love You Man was $87 million. This thing cost $40 million to make. This is one of the most bizarre mainstream releases I've seen in a long time. Basically the story here is it kind of the Judd Apatow universe. It's attached to it. Did he like produce this? Did he direct? Who directed this? I don't even know. So it's Paul Rudd, Jason Segel as the stars.
Yeah. John Hamburg
Jones.
John Hamburg was the director. He went on to make Why Him, the Bryan Cranston James Franco flop.
Oh God. Yeah.
But he also made a name for himself. He was the screenwriter for Meet the Parents and Zoolander.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
So
that's his claim to fame. Yeah.
But I don't know if I see Judd Apatow anywhere in the technical credits.
No,
here.
it feels like a Judd Apatow universe, doesn't it?
It does. No, he was not involved as far as I can tell.
Oh,
but yeah, it definitely was on the heels of, the fading kind of tail end of the Judd Apatow universe, right? I think Funny People was 2009, and so then like that was probably kind of his swan song of his success, right?
Of course.
And they were just trying to bank it off of his usual collaborators. I actually really enjoy this movie. I don't know.
Of course this is such a movie that you would love. I find it just meandering and completely listless as a story.
The script is shambles. It's all about the performers.
Paul Rudd is just like, he plays so, I don't know. There's something about Paul Rudd where he plays these sort of mopey, kind of sad sack dudes. And I was like, I don't believe it. I don't think Paul Rudd's actually like that. I think he's kind of a dick. I think he's kind of like,
no, don't ruin this for me, Wybert.
I know that he is. I can tell in his like the way that I don't know. There's something about him where he plays this super nice guy. And I know he's not like that as an actual person. You can just tell in his interviews and stuff. So I never buy it. And I hate Jason Segel.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
A lot of truth's coming out.
So I liked him for a long time. Forgetting Sarah Marshall's a masterpiece. I love that movie. Masterpiece quotation marks.
Right. Rom-com masterpiece.
But Segel, after he did that one movie where he played David, what's his name? The author, famous author.
Oh God. David Foster Wallace.
Yeah. And I heard him do an interview and I was like, I don't ever want to hear from you ever again.
That's fair.
I was like, he sounded so pompous. It was unbelievable. But this one, I think, not a great performance. It did kind of signal the end of that era, like you were saying. We'll never have that, like, what was it, 2003 old school to essentially 2009 Funny People, like that whole group of sort of improv comedy acting. In major releases like this. It was kind of amazing. And then we had The Hangover as like a weird copy of that world. And now we have 3 of those sequels and are terrible. Okay, so let's keep moving. Number 5 this weekend back in 2009 was Duplicity. What is it? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't remember this movie. Clive Owen, who I once saw in a coffee shop. He is 10 times more attractive in person than he is on film. It's unbelievable. Julia Roberts, Tom Wilkinson. I vaguely remember this film. Tony Gilroy directing. What else did Tony Gilroy had a really strange career?
He's made 3 movies. This movie, The Bourne Legacy, and Michael Clayton. A masterpiece.
Yeah, Michael. That's why I remember Michael Clayton. I know him as a screenwriter. He does all that screenwriting stuff, but Michael Clayton is just perfect.
Right. So he wrote Devil's Advocate and The First Bourne Identity, which I think are 2 really strong scripts. I mean, as far as that genre goes, like he's definitely a genre guy.
State of Play that he did in 2009. I love that.
Oh yeah, he did
the script.
I don't think I saw that one either.
Oh, you got to see that. It's such a classic. It's such a classic like journalism noir film. It's just like, and it makes no sense. It's like, how did this get made? Like nobody would want to see this besides people like film nerds. Like it's, he produced Nightcrawler too.
Yep. And he wrote Rogue One.
Oh, he's a very, Rogue One's
he's a talented guy.
Yeah.
He's a talented guy. I don't know why he hasn't directed a film since The Bourne Legacy, but whatever.
Yeah. He's probably doing I don't know what he's doing. Producing or something. Just being
probably.
Lazy. I don't remember this film. I didn't see it. I have nothing to say about it. 7.6 million this week, and it's kind of the end of the career or like mainline careers for I think Clive Owen and Julia Roberts. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah.
$49 million adjusted, cost $60 million to make. How did it cost $60 million to make? $81 million worldwide. So a total disaster financially. So yeah, definitely kind of the end of Clive Owen and Julia Roberts being super A-listers. And now they do whatever they do now. Like Clive
television.
Owen yeah, TV, Netflix. Clive Owen was in that kind of cool noir film, future noir film, Blade Runner-esque thing. Forget what it was called, but it was good. Let's keep this train rolling. Let's get in the time machine. Let's go back to 2004. This is a weird weekend. So this is March 26, 2004. Scooby-Doo 2.
Speaking of him, we just talked about
$29 million in its opening weekend. It closed out at 123 adjusted domestic. Worldwide unadjusted was 181. Only cost $25 million to make, 7.2x its production budget. So definitely financially successful. Low legs, though. For like a Scooby-Doo movie, expecting at least 3x children family film. Only 2.86 x its opening weekend to domestic total. So not great. I don't remember this film hardly at all. Was this like that first group? This is like Matthew Lillard, Freddie Prinze Jr., Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Right.
Apparently Seth Green showed up in it.
And the first one was a huge hit, 276 worldwide for 2002.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. I remember the first one doing pretty well. But this is kind of a disaster, and I feel like, so is the new one that you were talking about, is that live action or animated?
It's animated. So
okay.
And it's interesting because the director of both the original Scooby-Doo movies, Raja Gosnell, also had his hand in the originally live action Smurfs movies, and then he executive produced the new reboot, which was all animated Smurfs movie. None of which were huge. Well, I guess actually the first Smurfs movie made 563 worldwide in 2011.
What?
That's insane.
That's nuts. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Is that really a movie? Oh man, I've blocked out.
Oh, actually, coincidentally, that's what my sons chose to watch this morning for their week. We always do a weekend movie in the morning on Saturday and Sunday. And yeah, I watched most of it. Neil Patrick Harris and the Smurfs. It was weird.
A real classic for the whole family.
And the best thing about this guy's career probably is that he got his start by being the editor on Pretty Women, Home Alone, and Mrs. Doubtfire.
That's pretty good. That's really good. Wow.
I know, what a trifecta. And of course, so he lobbied that into a directing career. Yeah, his debut was Never Been Kissed, and that was a modest hit for the 90s.
I just watched that like 3 months ago.
Oh, really? Yeah. I know. So, like, we got a secret auteur in Raja Gosnell in the Hollywood trash genre.
Oh God, Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. Number 2 this weekend was The Lady Killers from Walt Disney. What? God. Why would Walt Disney put this out? $12 million did that weekend in its opening weekend. Ouch. Let's see, $35 million to produce this one, ended up unadjusted worldwide at 77. So only 2.2x its production budget. Not a good financial performance. I've actually a Coen Brothers film, which is bizarre. Tom Hanks, Marlon Wayans, J.K. Simmons is in this as well. What genre would you call this? I don't really remember it all that well. It's comedy.
Yeah, it's like it's just like a gonzo trash comedy. I don't know. It's bad.
I've never really liked the Coen Brothers less serious stuff. Besides Big Lebowski, which it's kind of like its own little world.
Right, right.
Like Hail Caesar, didn't like all that much.
I never saw Hail Caesar. Yeah,
I don't know. It's not great.
It doesn't look good. Did you
Lady
know?
Killers. Oh, go ahead.
Did you know that? What is this? Oh no, it's not what I think it is. Joel Coen was the screenwriter of a movie called Gambit in 2012.
Did he write the one I've been talking about for like since I started this podcast? I talk about the Gambit movie constantly with Channing Tatum or Tatum Channing. What the hell is his name?
Yeah, I know he's got two last names, no first names.
So no. Oh, there's another one. There's another Coen.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another guy with the same exact name. I get confused by that all the time when I see their names.
I know.
So what? $58 million adjusted domestic. Not a good performance, financial kind of trash here. I can't believe Walt Disney backed this. Doesn't really fit. And I don't see it under like one of their sub imprints either. Straight up Walt Disney doing supposedly sort of like an Easter-ish movie, holiday thing. Whatever. I'm not going to dive any deeper into it because I don't want to. So that was Lady Killers. Number 3 is Passion of the Christ, which is a classic box office film. An unbelievable performance from Mel Gibson's film. So this opened at $83 million. That's unadjusted. The adjusted domestic box office, $543 million for Passion of Christ. Unadjusted worldwide was 622. Adjusted is way higher. I can't do the math. Maybe like 800 million, something like that. Only cost $25 million to make. Did 25x its production budget in worldwide box office. So this really, I guess this sort of established I don't know, Christian films are always around, but this was definitely the creme de la creme, the top shelf Christian Easter movie. Did you see this one in the theaters?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, I definitely saw it in theaters. 2004, I would have been Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Oh, I remember seeing this at like a Cinemark theater. It was like,
why would you subject yourself?
I went with some college people and like I just want to see everything.
Yeah. Torture porn was in at this time, wasn't it?
It was, and it very much is torture porn. I think the companion film to this is Hostel.
Oh, I mean, absolutely.
It's just like it's this very similar sort of feel to it. It's a terrible film. I think one of the worst movies I've ever seen. And I kind of like what was the other one he did, Mel Gibson, Apocalypto? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's his best movie. Absolutely.
God, I love that movie. I thought
it's actually really good.
Yeah, he did a great job there. But it's a classic run. You know, it's one of those films that like people were making fun of before it got released. Super low production budget, New Line or New Market Films to this one, I'm sorry. And through Fox distribution. They're basically like, yeah, whatever, Easter film, we'll put it out. Didn't cost that much. And then it ends up making $500 million domestically. What you had there was like religious people, Christians going back over and over and over again. And there was like a very similar in 2009 with Avatar, where that repeat viewing was like a thing. People just like wanted to see this over and over again. And like, I don't know. I think like Christians more on the fundamentalist side of things were like seeing it as part of like their penance or something. Yep. Like they had to like feel like they're being destroyed along with, I don't know. I don't want to get the psychology of it, but people kept seeing it over and over again. Speaking of the dead coming back, number 4 was Dawn of the Dead. $10.6 million. Yeah.
It's the better zombie movie.
The better. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, I will say this about Dawn of the Dead. I'll talk about its financial performance, but I do have a little mini rant to go on. Opening weekend was $26 million. Inflation adjusted, only 86. I thought this was much bigger than this. Worldwide box office was only 100 million unadjusted. It did make almost 4x its production budget in worldwide box office. So financially, very much a success for Zack Snyder. The weird thing is that younger people, let's say younger being under 30, some people have said in various forums that they like Dawn of the Dead 2004 more than the original 1978
oh, come on.
George Romero film. And every time I see that, I feel like it is my duty as a defender of Romero's legacy to attack that person relentlessly online until they until they change their opinion. But an interesting moment in horror too, because this is kind of the start of this zombie renaissance. Like a year before this, we had 28 Days Later. Technically 2002 in the UK was 28 Days Later. So this was kind of right in that sweet spot 6 years before Walking Dead became on TV. So kind of a moment that I think actually it has a much bigger cultural legacy than its financial success, because it did do pretty well, but it wasn't like a $300 million domestic film, although it kind of feels like it was looking back. Do you saw this one opening weekend? Or at least
it wasn't opening weekend, but it was, around that time.
Yeah. Did you like it? I mean, Zack Snyder, it's probably his best film.
It is his best film, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I think I saw it once on HBO or something after it was released in theaters. But I mean, I have fond memories of it. I remember really enjoying it.
Oh, it's super fun movie. Like every time it's on TV, I just leave it on. I was like, this is fun. It's a really fun zombie romp. It's not serious at all. But it's a great homage to those sort of films. It does not have the same tone at all as the original Dawn of the Dead, which is like existential dread and just awfulness.
Right.
This one's just a fun romp overall.
And I mean, I really like the cast. I mean, Sarah Polley, Mekhi Phifer, cast. Ving Rhames. Like that's a solid cast.
Who's the guy from got super famous from Modern Family? He's
Ty Burrell. Yeah,
he's great in it. Totally plays against his character in Modern Family. Okay, Dawn of the Dead was number 4. Number 5 was Jersey Girl from Miramax. 8.3 million this weekend back in March of 2004. I don't know much about this one either. Is this a sequel or something? Or is this like totally original film?
It's part of the universe. I forget what universe of Kevin Smith's.
But like the Clerks universe? Like I don't even... Like New Jersey?
I think it's... Does he play... He plays Ollie... Ben Affleck plays Ollie Trinkle. That's a horrible, horrible name. Why would you name your main character Ollie Trinkle?
Because it's Kevin Smith writing it. What the hell does he know?
Fucking moron.
I love Kevin Smith, but he's awful at the same time.
No, it just takes place in New Jersey like all his other movies.
Oh, J-Lo is in this.
Oh yeah, of course. This is during Bennifer, right?
Oh God. So $35 million production budget. Again, who would give him money to do this? Miramax is just so full of it. The worldwide box office was $37 million, so it almost made back its production budget in worldwide box office. Total financial disaster. Definitely lost a ton of cash, especially when you factor in like marketing costs for something like this. I'm sure it wasn't like a super wide release, but like it was wide enough for it cost $30 million to market alone. So
yeah,
someone had to pay for that. Okay, Jersey Girl. What else can we say? Kind of a shitty movie that he just threw out there and nobody really took seriously.
It's still his third most successful movie at the box office.
Well, Kevin Smith. Did you ever see Tusk?
No, I didn't.
Okay, you should see that. I mean, that is an experience, and I think that like
I saw Red State. Red State was a pock on my memory.
I've not seen.
Oh, you should watch Red State and get back. I'll watch Tusk. You watch Red State.
Okay, we'll watch. Because Tusk made me physically ill, and I was
so did Red State.
I don't ever want to watch another movie again in my life. Let's hop in the time machine. Our last little jaunt here back to 1999. One of my favorite movies was number 1. Forces of Nature from DreamWorks.
What are you talking
9.4 million. Dude, you got to see this movie. Don't you remember when I was living in Minneapolis with you guys that one summer? I made you guys watch this. Do you not remember this?
I do not remember this.
I was like, everybody got to sit down and watch Forces of Nature. And everybody is like, what are you talking about? And then we sat down and watched it, and everybody was like, what the hell is wrong with you? I think there's a beauty in the way that it's shot. I think it's not well written, but I think the acting is phenomenal. But it's the composition of like the colors and the shots and stuff. I just thought it was beautiful. But that's just me. Inflation adjusted $94 million. No production budget on this one. This one felt like a financial disaster. It did have good legs though. 3.9x legs. Domestically worldwide did 93 unadjusted. And this was a weird one. You know, it's Ben Affleck, Sandra Bullock. The director, I don't believe
he
done
hasn't
much
made
since.
he hasn't made a single movie besides this one.
I mean, it's just you know.
Oh wait, he made a movie that was straight to VOD. The Journey is the Destination.
This is like, this is like somebody working super hard, like in minor league baseball, and getting one shot at Major League Baseball, and they go up to bat and hit a home run on their first pitch. And that's essentially what happened here. And then he was like, I'm done. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I don't need to do anything else. I'm out. That's my take on Forces of Nature, which is a beautiful film that everybody should see at least twice. But that was number 1 back in 1999 in those very strange times. Number 2 was Analyze This. Warner Brothers, 8.6 million that weekend. That was the weekend of March 26th to be exact. This one did pretty well. Inflation adjusted 191. This is a sequel, isn't it?
No, this is the original. The sequel was Analyze That.
Gotcha. This is De Niro, Billy Crystal. God, Billy Crystal is not active in a long time. Lisa Kudrow. So it did 18 opening weekend, closed out at 191 adjusted. Worldwide was 176 unadjusted, of course. Production budget was 30 million, so it made 6x that in its worldwide box office. Very good success. Obviously, we got the sequel. Let's take a look at the sequel really quick. I don't remember this film all that much.
Sequel's a bomb.
Was it really?
Yeah, 32 domestic.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And a double production budget too. So $60 million. Ooh, that's brutal.
It's super brutal. I actually have distinct memory of seeing Analyze This opening weekend and being super psyched because I was super into De Niro. And this is I think the year before his, descent into crap with Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents.
So Analyze This was like a taste of that. And so I remember I remember laughing like the first half of the movie and then just like coming to a realization as, I don't know, like a 14 or 15 year old or whatever. And just being like, wait, this isn't good. This is just crap. And it was also, when did was Sopranos on the air? Because this was, a mobster going to a therapist, right?
God, I don't even know. I think The Sopranos was late 90s, right?
Yeah, so this might, I think this was like around the same time. Yeah. And so like, I didn't have HBO, so I wasn't watching Sopranos. So I was like, oh, this is the best I can do. But I really wanted to watch Sopranos, but then this just turned out to be like, I don't know. It was just, I don't know. And Harold Ramis directed it. So like I had obviously fond memories of Ghostbusters and Groundhog Day at the time. But like, we also have to remember that Harold Ramis, rest in peace, but dude also made Multiplicity and The Ice Harvest and Bedazzled in year 1.
Stuart Saves the Family. I'm just looking
Stuart Saves His Family.
What is this trash? Club Paradise? What the fuck?
I know.
He's a really weird, he's a weird legacy.
Yep.
Because like, I think Groundhog Day, I think now is acknowledged as like this beautiful sort of Molotov cocktail of a film.
Right. Existential masterpiece.
And you're sort of like wrapped in like this, big studio sheen. But like all this other stuff, Bedazzled is so bottom of the barrel.
I know, right?
God, awful. So Analyze This was number 2. Oh, here we go.
Speaking of bottom of the barrel,
EdTV, folks. And number 3. This is a movie that if you're younger, you're not going to remember, any idea about this film. EdTV. So this is March 26, 1999. Did 8.3 million. Is this Ron Howard?
Oh yeah,
I believe it is. Matthew McConaughey in the lead. This closed out at 40 million adjusted. Domestically, unadjusted worldwide was only 35 back then. Production budget was $60 million, so it only made 60% back. So a financial disaster for Universal.
And this is the year after the Truman Show. So
Yeah, okay,
I remember
that's why
everybody talking about that.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember there was a film that sort of played right off of it, or it played right off of a film. Over 2 hours long, 123 minutes.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm just looking at like the Woody Harrelson, Ellen DeGeneres, Rob Reiner, Dennis Hopper, Elizabeth Hurley, Clint Howard shows up in this, of course. I remember this like hype for this film. It was pretty constant. It was like Entertainment Weekly had like photos of it like every week or something, and it felt like it was going to be this really big film, and it just sort of blew up on release. Definitely in the sort of gully of Matthew McConaughey's career. where he just was kind of lost, way before it did Mud or any of the True Detective stuff. And so this is kind of his rom-com period too, wasn't it?
Oh yeah,
Made in Manhattan,
which lasted like over a decade actually.
Did it really?
Well, because Ghosts of Girlfriends Past was 2009.
Oh yeah, which we just watched. Man, have you seen this one? I've never seen this film.
No, but I'm adding it to our list of Zoom movies.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be on the list because I feel like it's like a time capsule film. It's just not gonna like make sense to younger people, and like we're gonna get it because we were there. What an absolute mess of a film.
It's Ron Howard's 5th worst performing film. And
he's had a real rough time of it. I feel so bad for him. I don't know why I feel bad for him. I don't know. I think he's actually like a really talented guy who grew up in the industry, his entire life using the industry as an actor and now director.
Right.
And he's made some great stuff. But like now I'm looking back, what was the great stuff that he made?
Yeah.
A Beautiful Mind.
Ransom. Okay. I'm a big fan of Ransom. 1996.
Okay. Ransom's a great movie. Perform pretty well actually. And I'm looking at it.
Yeah.
Apollo 13, kind of a classic.
Yeah.
Maybe undeserved, but kind of a classic.
Splash.
Splash. Yeah. Dude, the story about how you made Splash. If you're interested in filmmaking at all, listen to Ron Howard's What the Fuck podcast episode with Mark Maron. It is incredibly fascinating.
I'll do that.
It's so good about how you got to start in going from an actor to being a director. Roger Corman really took him under his wing, which is mind blowing. Backdraft, all that kind of stuff. A Beautiful Mind. Didn't he win Best Director for that? Maybe I don't remember.
Probably. I don't care.
Yeah, and then he did Angels and Demons, and I stopped paying attention. Okay, so that was number 3 is Ed TV, a real classic for you youngsters. Go back and watch that and be horrified about what major studios were doing back then. Number 4 is the Mod Squad, MGM. No idea, no clue.
What is going on? 1999. Yeah, no, the Mod Squad I distinctly remember. I was working at a local movie theater at this time period.
Known as Chris Point.
Yeah. And this is a movie by a director called Scott Silver, who, like the director of Ghosts of Girlfriends Past, went to the AFI Conservatory. And he went on...
A real classically trained director. Okay.
Yeah. And he went on to only direct the Mod Squad and a 1996 movie called Johns, which was like a small indie drama. But then after that, went on to do rewrites for X-Men Origins Wolverine and write the screenplay for 8 Mile, and write David O. Russell's The Fighter. So like,
okay,
what?
So
and cherry on top of the sundae, co-wrote the script to Joker with Todd Phillips.
Wow.
What a weird career.
What a weird career. This is a guy who's probably like, very talented as a young guy, given a chance and kind of blew it with Mod Squad.
Oh yeah, just blew it. Claire Danes, Omar Epps, and Giovanni Ribisi, based on the old popular British TV show, but Americanized and 90ized. Just
90ized.
really, really terrible film.
$23 million adjusted domestic. Last but not least in our time machine journey for this episode, Doug's first movie was number 5 this weekend, back in March 1999. Did 4.4 million this weekend. Overall adjusted did $34 million. Domestically, production budget didn't get released worldwide, by the way, just domestic. Production budget was 5, so it did 4x that, just domestic. So a good performance. I should have been more excited for this movie to come out, maybe, but I guess I was 17 years old. And so
yeah,
Doug,
we weren't quite at the nostalgia for Doug at that point yet.
No. When was Doug on TV though? When would we have like watched Doug on Nickelodeon? Was that like we were like 12 or something? Yeah,
like 94, probably like 5 years earlier. But
yeah.
Teenagedom hits you fast, and you just completely disown everything you loved in your youth a few years prior. It's so weird.
Yeah, it is very strange, and I'm sure that's kind of what happened to Dora the Explorer too.
Yep,
like probably. You just wait a little bit, like 2 or 3 years too long, and that spike is gone. But this one performed decently well. It wasn't like a financial disaster. Only cost $5 million to make, and made 4x that. So I'm sure. Nickelodeon. I guess Disney put this out and distributed it, made some money on this one. All right, so that's it. That's our time machine journey for this week. Any takeaways? Any sort of broader lessons to learn?
I was thinking about this last week when you did the other, multi-time machine episode. I think the big just kind of thing that hits me over the head with this is like there have always been bad movies. Like just always in the top 5 of like nearly every weekend, it's going to be majority bad movies.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at these lists like Jersey Girl, Lady Killers, Knowing, Haunting in Connecticut, God's Not Dead, Muppets Most Wanted. These are all top 5 films that are trash.
Yeah. And so therefore, I guess the realization I'm making today is that like, I don't think that you or I could successfully do this podcast if we didn't enjoy bad movies.
That's very true. Yeah. I mean, I love talking about bad movies just because it's like watching a car wreck a little bit. It's like you see the beauty of like a really good, like great film, that does well in the box office, or like, and then you see the exact opposite of that and you can sort of pick apart why it failed. Like Muppets Most Wanted. Why would you choose that set? Why would you do all these, that sort of thing? Knowing obviously is a train wreck because Nick Cage is probably in touch with drugs and they gave him too much money. I Love You Man has a terrible script that makes no sense, although you love the film. Lady Killers, like again, product conception. Why would you make this? What's the purpose? But then you see something like Dawn of the Dead, which isn't a masterpiece, but it's a very fun popcorn film, and I rewatch it at least once a year. And you're like, oh, this could have been a disaster. There's a million ways how this could have failed, and it didn't. And that's the cool part about it, because you see the successes, and they are kind of rare. And sometimes,
but then it's a double-edged sword, because then Zack Snyder goes on to make some of the worst movies ever made. Right?
No matter what, we lose because we get the. Yeah. Speaking of which, if you are a DCEU fan, I believe Zack Snyder was doing a live cast commentary of Justice League this morning. You might be on right now, so you might want to catch it, which I'm going to watch after we finish this episode.
Oh my God. Why would he put himself through that? I don't know.
Because he is vain and he wants people to love him, and he's a decently talented visual director. I mean, I think that's the thing. It's just everything else about him is just awful. In any event, there's good films, there's bad films. We're always going to be here to talk about them. That's it for this week. We'll be back next weekend with another Time Machine special here on out until the box office reopens, which should be in about 3 months ish. Anyways, I've been Dan, and this is the Wildline Podcast. Chris, say goodbye.
Thanks for having me, Dan.